All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's AMA. Today, our guest is Ethereum Fair. And this is a really interesting one because I'm sure a lot of you have been airdropped ETHF in your accounts. So it will be wonderful to hear a lot more about it. I'm going to bring up our guest on screen in just a second. So please welcome everybody, Dr. Rand. Dr. Rand, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Good morning. Hey, everyone. Nice to be here in this great community.
Glad to have you here, Dr. Rand. And I'm sure a lot of people have questions about Ethereum Fair. So we're really happy to have you here on board. So why don't we get started? Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe why you are in crypto?
Sure. So right now I'm in the ETH Fair core team. Before that, I was a researcher. I was a researcher in artificial intelligence. I got a graduate degree from East Coast and stayed there for 10 years. And until someday that I realized that I'm like doing some little crazy program on my video card. That's like 7 years ago. And I start to realize that, hey, is there a way that we can make the world into a great computer, a decentralized computer, not a
Uh-huh.
centralized computer, right? So that's the start of my journey in crypto. And then I was in fintech, in DeFi, in right now in Web3 and GameFi. So Eastern Fair actually is my new journey. And I hope with all my team members to bring a very unique Web3 and NFT experience to all the users.
Got it. Glad to hear. So, Dr. Rand, why don't we jump into what everybody I'm sure wants to hear about now? A lot of people have been airdropped ETHF on various different platforms, if they were Ether holders, of course. So, why don't you just tell us in very simple terms, what is ETHF?
Sure. So, in simple terms, ETHF is the first Ethereum fork initialized by a group of engineers right around that merge moment, which is the magic number of the block height 1.5 something. So that's what is ETHF in a short terms. And we keep POW. We keep POW because we've been preparing this for 4 years. Right now,
Hmm.
ETHF has a community of developers of 100, more than 100 all over the world. So we want to keep the security and the safety of your assets, and we want to keep exactly the states of your transaction on Ethereum just before the merge. So that's
Hmm.
why we claim that ETHF is the first successfully forked ETH POW version after the merge.
Got it. And then maybe can you touch a little bit more on what the difference is between ETH and ETHF? So I know that you touched upon, proof of work there, but maybe go a little bit more in depth as to what the difference is.
Sure, I'd love to. It's quite some story, so I can make it short. Actually, 4 years ago, around like 2018, Metallica announced that to every community, to everyone in the community that Israel is going to migrate to POS. That's
Hmm.
4 years ago. Although it got delayed because of the COVID, although it got realized almost after 4 years, which is like 2 weeks, 1 week from now, 2 weeks ago. But I think that's a big thing, a huge success for Israel and for Vitalik himself
Right.
to merge for ETH from POW to POS. That's one thing. The other thing, why we are doing this, why we are planning this for 4 years, is that we are a group of developers that believes in POW because the following reasons. Number one, POW is the only safe protocol or consensus scheme that can protect, that has a proven track record for safety for more than 10 years. Of course, everyone can argue that we will have something safer in the future, but dude, you need another 5 or 10 years to prove that,
Right.
right? That's number one. Number two is that in terms of censorship, in terms of regulation, as far as I know, as far as we all know, right now, at least Bitcoin, it's classified as commodity, and it's very likely, or almost there will be a lot of interesting things happening here in all POS-based chains to under jurisdiction of SEC and all the other security governance regulators all over the world. That will be a huge difference. That will be a huge difference. So based on the two reasons, that's the two major difference for ETH and ETHF. So at that specific time, they are still the same, but after that, ETHF is a POW based layer one. Our goal again is the same. Is the same thing. We really want to create the world a super cool decentralized computer with safety and security as our supported by POW as our first
Mhm.
priority.
Right. And also, you touched upon an important aspect there, which is the potential regulations going forward. So, yeah, Ethereum is probably going to run into, or might, into some regulatory issues there. So we'll see what the space brings. I'm glad that there is people working at least on an alternative there. Um, so, Dr. Rand, speaking of that, so you talked about two reasons for which it's different from Ethereum, but maybe can you touch upon the vision of ETHF? So, the future going forward for it.
Sure. So in terms of build up the ecosystem, our vision is to take 10% minimum of the Ethereum ecosystem size. So let's say right now Ethereum is about 40 billion. So we are looking for a a value for the total ecosystem of ETHF, maybe with our other collaborators or competitors. Together, the POW should be around like 4 billion something, of course, or 4 to 40 billion something, global wise. And we are going there right now. We are like under 1 billion. So you can see there's still a lot of room for the whole ecosystem to grow. So that's number one goal in terms of the ecosystem. In terms of the technology, we will be focusing on Web3 NFT because we believe a POW based layer one should be able to keep the most valuable assets. And NFT definitely will be the perfect value capture vehicle or tokens in terms of this. So not DeFi, not other things, but we will heavily encourage innovations and the new protocols such as Web3 and NFT. That's in the technical development. Also, the third thing is the in the fundamental protocol upgrades. We will before the merge. Actually, our job is fairly simple, right? We just take whatever is doing and evaluate that and say if we want to adopt the change. But right now, we will need to create our own EF IPs, all these proposals for the ecosystem only based on POW. We will also building a multi-layer 2 and even layer 3 system so that we want to provide permissionless computational power and ledger for everyone in the world. We are looking for 10 times or maybe 100 times more mass adoption in terms of users. I think that's the next huge step
Got it. Yeah,
for
there's
us.
definitely some ambitious goals, and for the sake of the whole space, we hope that you are successful there. So, can you talk to us maybe about some partnerships that you guys may be working on? Obviously, partnerships are a key part of this space. Why don't you talk to us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Great question. We as I described just now, I joined this ecosystem very soon, a couple of weeks ago. But our engineers, our developers, especially Song, the founder of this project, he's been leading these developers to working on this for 4 years, and so we didn't make any media announcement not like ETHW or not like ETC. We are literally under a stealth mode until we we are successfully executed the code to fork ETHF after the merge. Then we start to talk to collaborators and sponsors and exchanges. And surprisingly, we got a warm welcome by quite a few of the big exchanges such as the PJ, Gate, Huobi, and mostly 50% of the top 10 or top 20 exchanges we are in touch with. Right now, I think that's the first collaborators that we are working with that
Hmm.
is getting ETHF listed. The key idea here is to provide some liquidity, provide some fuel for the ecosystem to grow, because we set aside 6 million tokens for the ecosystem to grow. And we really want to encourage good protocols to work with us. That's one thing. My job next stage actually is the efforts by the whole team is that we are working for, I believe, right now, last week the number was 17 protocols. Right now, I think the line goes to like belong between 50 to 100 protocols covering Web3, GameFi, NFT, exchanges, and some of the traditional DeFi's. We are working with them to have them deploy their contracts onto ETHF. We are also working with layer twos and the bridges. So that's pretty much quite a busy schedule for the next couple of months. I really encourage everyone to stay tuned and to come back to Gates to get our updates. We will publish our updates here.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a very busy time for sure. Trying to migrate some of the projects on the that are currently on the merged version of Ethereum.
Yep.
But Dr. Ram, maybe speaking of that, we are very curious to hear your very own behind the scenes perspective on the merge. Maybe if you can speak your mind to us about your opinion about everything that happened and what to expect going forward.
So, for my perspective, because I'm from the engineering background, I'm in the core team for technology and ecosystem in ETHF. So, my personal role here is to keep building and work with developers and engineers and the products to bring more users here. We want to deploy some cool projects. We don't want just to fork or duplicate, because Web3 it's growing super fast. I'm
Right.
seeing like by the end of this year, because of the World Cup, because of the game fights, we may be able to see the first moment that Web3 brings 10 times more users to the crypto than DeFi, than the other applications. So that will be a big moment. And I just want to make sure that at that time, ETHF is still a healthy system, a stable system, and we will have a POW based layer one, and we will have all kinds of layer twos, GK, centralized layer two, or even layer threes, so that we want to invite gamers, traders, users to the to this ecosystem. That's my personal role.
Got it. Great. So maybe talk to us a little about, since you mentioned layer two, why don't you talk to us about how layer two will interact with ETHF?
So there are a couple of ways of doing this. Number one is that we use either something similar to ZK rollup or OP or Arbitron. That's the traditional way of doing this. The other way is that actually I'm tracking some of the cool projects. There's a very fundamental like layer zero technology, or we call them Chris Bridge ZK technology, that can
Hmm.
provide a universal layer two to layer one or layer two to layer two transition on that. That is super cool, and I'm staying in this community. I'm driving to San Francisco today, right after this, because of the Circle Summit. There were some interesting people and interesting project about this. We are going to talk about this in San Francisco.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Rand, Why don't we jump into some of the questions that we've received from Twitter, since a lot of people are wondering about ETHF
Sure. Yeah,
already.
I see a lot of questions. Yes, bring them.
Yep. So, first question we have here from Clement Capo. So this is, what's your opinion about what people think now for the future of ETHF? So maybe can you comment on what you've been hearing from people and what you usually respond to what people think about the project?
Yeah, sure. This is a great question. Thank you. And it's very surprisingly, I couple of weeks ago when we talk about people, people say, "What is this?" We only know other like ETC, ETHW. We don't know this. So who are you, right? And then after we show them some social media, so show them the technology progress, show them that we are literally the first successful fork after the merge, right on the merge. They will say, "Oh, that's great," because crypto area people are very open, right? They understand you. They're going to support you. So my third question for to them is that, "Hey, come to play with us. Come to build with us." And most of them say, "Sure." So where is your NFT market? Where is your DeFi? Where is your bridge? So that actually represents the transition of the media perception to ETHW and the ETHF. Uh, on the other hand, we also get a warm welcome from mostly all the exchanges. They start to focusing mainly on ETHW, and right now they are working with us to either encourage us or or use ETHF to be the only one, just like the keychain did, or have the two things grow together. I like competition. I think that's a big market there. Everyone's competing for 10%, maybe even more for the Ethereum ecosystem. That's a lot. That's a that's 100 billion if ETH goes to like a thousand billion total market value, right? So that's a lot of opportunities there, and I love to see more than one protocols going together. Thank you.
Got it. And we have a question here from the people that are tuning in to the live stream. We have AppTech Engineering asks, is the ETHF network different from the ETH network? I know you touched a little bit about that, but what Earning wants to know is, maybe can you talk about the fee, security, and scalability? So if you can touch about those three and how it's different from what ETH is now becoming.
Sure. So in terms of the fee, because we use ETHF to as the gas fee, so it's still super cheap right now. That's number one. But the block time depends on the transaction traffic. So the behavior will be the same as Ethereum POW. That's before the merge, right? Number two, we are also doing layer two and maybe sharding in terms of upgrading. So just stay tuned for the further announcements. Our technical engineers and developers are working on that. In terms of safety, that's something that I really want to emphasize because so far only us keeps all the states of the each transaction before the merge, not one single block more, not one single block less. That's very different from all the other versions of the merge. No matter how they claim that, we are executing our code right on that block height. So that's why. That's because we want to show some respect to the assets for everyone. It's a permissionless crypto, right? We want to protect your transactions right until that moment. And after that, we'll use our own POW nodes because we believe that's the only safe consensus based on a 10-year long track record.
Yeah, makes
So it's
sense.
safer, it's cheaper, it's being upgrading right now.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thanks a lot, Dr. Rand. Another question from Twitter here. Um, how many people work for the project right now? How many people would you say are working with you to make this a successful project going forward?
So as I said, I joined this ecosystem very soon, like 2 weeks ago. But before that, Song led all our team to work on this for 4 years. At first, there were just a couple of engineers. They think POW is cool. They don't want to give up POW so early. They think this is safe. So around like a couple of months ago, we have a growing team, but the core team is we only have a few team on the core team, and I believe Song is one of them. He is the leader. And at the moment of as of now, as we were talking, we have like about 100 engineers all over the world, like in
Hmm.
North America, in Singapore, in Japan, uh, in Vietnam. We have a global size of 100 engineers, and it's growing. It's growing super fast. I got contacts from Twitter, from Telegram, almost every day to say, "Hey, I'm a dev, and I know Solidity. How can I contribute?" I got this request almost every day.
Interesting. So it seems like a lot of people actually want to continue with the proof of work version of ETH. So that's really interesting to hear. I mean, at the end of the day, these are decentralized protocols. So whichever one gets traction at the end will ultimately be decided by the community.
By the
Uh,
users, for the users, yes.
mhm. And then, Dr. Ron, we have another question here from the live stream. Um, it's a funny one. Lover wants to know, do you have sufficient basic reserves, like communities, funds, partners, and sponsors to reach future milestones? So maybe talk about the funding that the project has, or does it completely rely on volunteers, etc.? Tell us about how the incentive of
Yeah,
the people
so
that are
actually,
developing.
we make announcements on our Twitter a couple of days ago, couple of times already. We have a pretty ambitious grant system for the whole ecosystem. We This is for 3 stages. The first stage, we allocated 6 million tokens, uh, and it's for a couple of community protocols. Number one is the miner community, because we want to keep them. We want to invite them to come over, because more miners, more secure for the POW consensus. It's not like a POS, right? So we need the miners.
Mhm.
And our hash rate, it has been increasing crazily in the last couple of days. So feel free to observe this interesting thing ongoing. That's number one. Number two is that if you are a developer, or if you are a user, or if you are a protocol, come to us. We have 3 ways of support your project, cool project. Number one, we can issue some grant. You just migrate this your cool product to our layer one. Number two is that if you are DeFi, or if you are have functions related to liquidity, we can provide some initial liquidity for you to jumpstart to acquire users. Number three is that if both things, hey, we like each other, and this is just like Ethereum supported Uniswap and MetaMask, we can invest.
Got it.
Yeah.
Um, and then another question from Twitter, Dr. Ron. Um, how can your project convince users to invest in your platform in the long term? So I guess people, in here are wondering, well, I have the option of, investing in ETH. Why would I invest in ETHF instead? So this is from the investment perspective.
Sure. So I would say first, I love to see the huge success of East, right? That's number one. Number two is that in terms of the future value capture room, right now I'm seeing Ethereum ETHF is at a fairly low stage. So
Hmm.
the early you got, the more value capture you maintain. That's number one. Number two is that be very careful for the regulator because of the POS migrate, because it's TBD yet. So a lot of discussions. Vitalik himself, last month, I met him at Stanford University. We talked about this, and he's proposing some social soft fork if that happens. So that's a not proved. That's a great, cool idea, but that needs some time to prove it's working. So that's a risk on putting all your assets on ETH. So that's why I say come here to put your assets here and come here to build for the above two reasons. Number one, the price here is still very low, even though I cannot talk about this. I don't want to talk about this, but right now the timing is perfect. And for security concerns, I think the POW, many will know that at least that will not be as easier to get trapped by the all this kind of regulations, rules, or anything like something like that.
Wait, Dr. Rand, you're muted. Yeah, we're listening to you there. Okay,
Reconnect right
got
now.
it.
Better?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I can hear you just
Okay,
fine.
okay. To summarize, there are two reasons why you should consider ETHF. Number one is that the value here is very low, so it's a good time to capture the value in the midterm. Number two is that for security and for regulation concerns, that the POS needs some time to prove, and until that day, it will be some bumpy ride for E.
Right. Then I have some questions from Telegram here. I can't really put them on screen right now, but people are wondering what we've been contrasting ETHF with ETH this whole time. But what would you say is the difference with Ethereum Classic, since Ethereum Classic remains kind of like an original version of Ethereum? Can you contrast with Ethereum Classic now?
Yeah, sure. So ETC has been there working for stable for quite some time, and there have been some hash rate on that. The only thing that I want to mention on that is that the ecosystem for ETC is close to nothing, and
Okay.
the grant for that chain is close to nothing. So without that, from my personal perspective as an engineer, as a scientist, I would say that at least the foundation has some grants to attract people, right? At least that we have some developers to work on that. Without these two arms, I don't think any chain, no matter you are layer one, layer two, can be successful.
Right, right. And then another question I'm seeing here is regarding the infrastructure for mining. So, is the infrastructure, I'm talking about like the specific hardware required for mining ETHF? Is it the same as the one used for ETH before the merge?
It's the same. It's the same. And most of the pools, they're already supporting that. So please come to our Twitter or Medium. We have exactly articles in different languages to explain like how to double check that you are generating ETHF, you are mining ETHF. But hardware size is the same. It's exactly the same.
Got it. Okay, Dr. Rand, we thank you a lot for your time. I believe we've gone through all the questions that
Yeah.
have been submitted. So we really thank you for being here. It was a big mystery for a lot of people what ETHF was, in the sense that we were airdropped it for all of us that are, traditional ETH
Yeah.
holders, and
Come to
then we're
claim
like,
it from
yeah,
gate.
right.
Come to
Yeah.
claim it.
Yep. So everybody, if you had ETH on Gate, you will have ETHF deposited in your account. So please check that out, and then you can always reference this video to get Dr. Rand's perspective on the future of ETHF. So Dr. Rand, thank you a lot for being there here today. And yeah, until next time, I hope that we can stay in touch with you in the future.
Sure. Sure.
All
Bye
right.
bye. Thank
Bye
you.
bye. Thanks.
Bye bye.
All right, everybody. That was Dr. Rand with ETHF. Thank you very much for being here today. Remember that today, in a few hours, I believe in about 5-6 hours, we have another AMA. So hope to see you there again soon. Until next time, everybody.